My name is Isidore. Once upon a time, this name commanded respect. Fear. Hope. Now there is a faint movement in the air that dissipates faster than the dust on the windowsill of my old house. I am 73. My house is the last one on the street that once led to life. Now it's down memory lane. The house is old, but neat. I've never been a mess. Even now, when there is more silence in my life than voices, I still fold the napkins, dust the shelves, and boil the kettle at 6:30 every day, just like when I still had someone to get up for. My children are successful. And it's my fault. I myself pushed them into the world, like ships into the sea. He built a business, sold a part of his soul so that they would not know the need. And now they don't know. They also don't know what it means to call your father more than once a month. Do not look in with a gift, but with warmth. We'll see each other on holidays. Formally. Photo for social networks. Grandpa is in a good mood. Signature, as in a textbook on artificial friendliness. Granddaughters, they are already big. Smart, beautiful. And cold. Like glass that you can't touch without leaving a mark. Grandpa, have you forgotten your Wi-Fi password again? Why do you need this old book? There is Google. They are funny. And I don't. Because I can see myself rubbing off. Not as a person, but as a fact. It's like I never existed. I go to the store, slowly, with a stick. The queue pushes ahead of me as if I were not there. Let go of grandfather, says the cashier with feigned kindness, and I feel that this is not mercy. This is indulgence. How to throw a bone to an old dog. At the hospital, the nurse yells at me like I'm deaf and stupid. And the doctor prescribes pills and says, "What you want is age. Live peacefully. Live long." This word sharpens me like rust. I am no longer a part of life, I am its background noise. A blanket on his lap, a notebook nearby, the TV muted. I'm watching. And I'm learning to disappear. But it hasn't disappeared yet. No. I have something. A small heat that does not have time to go out. While everyone wrote me off, I read them. Anyone who forgot who I was. And who else can I be? I see how my son talks on the phone about millions, but does not have time for one call. How a grandson laughs at my watch, which, by the way, helped me close my first $100,000 deal in '91. I see the neighbors whispering. Poor old Isidore. There used to be someone. Was. You are wrong. I am. I am silent. But I don't forgive. Silence is not weakness. It's a tightrope. This is the air before the explosion. I used to hold cities in the palm of my hand. And if I lost my youth, I did not lose my head. And the mind is what they fear the most. Because it is not visible. They don't hear. Until it's too late. They turned away, and thereby allowed me to disappear into the shadows. But it is in the shadow that a predator is born. All life is a map. Some are born pawns. Others are players. And me? I was a board. Everything happened on me, and I held on, didn't break, even when others fell. I didn't become what I was right away. At first, a young man with torn shoes, hungry for life, with hunger not only in my stomach, but in my heart. I was 23 when I realized, the world won't give anything. It must be taken away. But not with the strength of my fist, but with the precision of my step. In the 90s, when everything was falling apart, I collected. I bought factory iron for next to nothing, sold it abroad. I didn't study at the university, but at the markets, in negotiations, at tables where words were bullets. And I shot accurately. Partners betrayed. The closest one, stole everything. I remember how I didn't sleep for 3 nights then, deciding, to beat or to outwit. I chose the latter. A year later, he was gone from the business. And I moved on. Without anger. From a height. My children grew up in the security that I bought later. I remember standing in line for loans so that my son could go to study in London. How I mortgaged my own apartment so that my daughter could have a wedding that my marriage never saw. They didn't know how I cried at home, sitting with 2 bottles of valerian, because the bank threatened to take away the business. But in the morning I got up, put on a suit and smiled at them. Because that's what a leader does. I wasn't kind, I was fair. I paid salaries when others fled abroad. I protected workers from raiders. Everyone knew, if Isidore kept his word, it was armor. People trusted me more than the authorities. I wasn't afraid of prosecutors or racketeers. They were afraid of me. And where are all these people now? The phone is silent. Former partners are in business classes and closed clubs. None of them remembered who introduced them to the game. And the children? They live in a different time. A time of short messages, where the father is a meme, not history. I saw my son on TV talking about personal achievements, telling my struggle in other people's words. And I smiled. Not out of pride. Out of bitter irony. Because in this country, even fame is transmitted with amnesia. But I remember everything. I remember how my hands shook when I first signed $1 million contract. I remember standing near my warehouse, which was burning from arson, and swearing to myself through the smoke, I will be back. I will survive. And I survived. And now, like a shadow in a photograph, I have disappeared from the frame. Even from the frame. But in every movement I make, even when I put a cup of tea on the table, there is the calm of one who knows more. Because strength is not muscle. It is memory. And my memory is as accurate as a report. And they all think I have weakened. But I only stepped back to see better. And to remember who is who. They say old age is wisdom. That's a lie. Old age is the little things that cut deeper than a knife. Not thunder, not storms. And the drops are daily, cold, indifferent. I called my son on Wednesday, exactly at 5:05 p.m. I knew he had left the office. Hello, Dad. Pause. I can't right now, I'll call him back. He didn't call back. A week passed. And I still remember the exact time when his voice disappeared. 5:06 p.m. When he hung up. My grandson came in by chance. He needed to charge his phone. I tried to talk. I asked him to show me how the new banking app works. It's easy, Grandpa. Are you serious? And he laughed. Laughter. My grandson laughs at me like I'm a fool. Every laugh leaves a scratch. A package fell on the street. I tried to pick it up with a trembling hand. People were walking by. The woman in the coat glanced over and turned away. The guy in the headphones walked by, not even stopping. I was nothing to them. Not a person. Not a beggar. I was an empty space. It was worse in the hospital. What is he doing here? The young doctor asked, not even looking me in the eye. He doesn't understand, he's already, old. The nurse grabbed my arm like a doll and whispered through her teeth, "Go, don't bother me." And I left. My legs carried me. But inside I wasn't walking, I was writing. I've been keeping a diary for 10 years. At first, just dates, events, habits. Now, names. Phrases. Gestures. A separate page is dedicated to everyone who has disrespected me. I write down when my son didn't pick up the phone. When my grandson sneered. When the doctor didn't even say, please. Little things. Yes. But it's the little things that start the water breaking the dam. I feel it growing. Pressure. Tension. An inner thud. It's not anger. It's not resentment. It's accumulation. Like a spring. Like a blade sharpened in silence, day after day. I see the world without shine. Because shine is for those who still believe. And I don't. I see reality. People aren't good. They're convenient. As long as you're useful, they carry you. When you stumble, they step over you. And I feel something deep, dark in me, waking up. It has no name. It has no voice. But I know, it's me. My real, ancient, original self, which I kept locked away. Because I had to be good. A father. An example. And now. Now I'm just old. And I don't have to pretend anymore. Every day I sit by the window. With a cup of tea. And a pen in my hand. I ask no more. I don't ask. I don't try to explain. I listen. And watch. And wait. What they think is my end is not death. It's a pause. Before I start playing. It happened on Tuesday. I was coming back from the pharmacy, carrying 2 packages, new pills that, as the pharmacist said, will help you live a little longer. I walked slowly, along the sidewalk, where every crack knew my steps. No one looked at me. No one stopped when I tripped. The packages flew, the pills spilled out onto the asphalt. I fell. Not painfully, humiliatingly. Laughter. 1. 2. Someone said out loud, "Nobody needs him." And that was the last. A click. Not thunder. Not anger. Just a click, in my head. Like a latch that has come loose after prolonged pressure. I lay there, but I no longer felt humiliation. Only clarity. When I got up, I didn't look back. I got home, undressed, and went to my study, to the wall where there was a small safe behind the eaves. I opened it. An old Nokia. My first push-button cell phone. And next to it is a notebook, not the one I used to write down my days. This one is different. It is a tool. It contains not complaints, but opportunities. Phone numbers. Connections. Facts. Passwords. Old debts. Forgotten, like me. I took out an archive from the closet. Dusty, but neat. Contracts. Photos. Documents. Compromising evidence. Did they think I had forgotten? I remember everything. I was a businessman not because I knew how to make money. But because I knew how to read people. And to pick up threads. Threads that will turn into ropes today. I called. Not from my main phone. Not from my home phone. An old contact, Artem. A former security guard who, on my orders, disappeared from the radar after a failure. Isidore. You owe me. Yes, boss. I am listening. And so, thread by thread, I picked up the web. Someone has access to the cameras. In another is the database of the company that now belongs to my son. The third is a forgotten lawyer who once worked for me. Now he is angry, dirty, but loyal. I do not create chaos. I design a system. Like an architect, drawing a fall. But elegantly. Without scrap. Without blood. I sit in silence, in the same chair that once seemed to me a coffin. Now, a throne. In front of me is a chessboard. The pieces have been arranged for a long time. I just haven't played before. And now, I play. For the first time in many years, I am alive. My eyes do not see a TV. But a world that I can change. My hand is no longer for a cup of tea. But for pressing buttons that start processes. My voice is not for how to do it. But for commands. They thought I had disappeared. And I was just waiting for the moment. Because predators do not growl. They are silent. And when they come out of the shadows, no one is laughing anymore. They don't call me grandfather anymore. Because I'm not a grandfather. I'm a shadow that's returned. I don't raise my voice. But everything around me is starting to tremble. They still don't know what I started. They haven't felt where the cold is coming from. But he's already in their air. The sun is the first. His company received an anonymous message: the financial statements for last year don't match the bank data. Suspicion of money laundering. He's sitting in his office, by the window, where I once taught him to count profits on his fingers. And he doesn't understand, where. The grandson is the second. He was sent a fragment of a video. Not a montage. A real recording where he flaunts inside information about his employer, in a bar, in front of a girl he wanted to impress. Now he's a scandal. Headlines. A blocked contract. The phone is silent. He's in a panic. And no one, suspects that I'm around. Because I'm out of sight. I am in the walls, in the code, in a short letter sent via VPN, under a nickname that only 2 people in this city know. The connections they once neglected are now cracking. Former partners avoid looking. Creditors are nervous. And I just sit in the dark and keep playing. I don't take revenge physically. That would be cheap. I build mirrors in which everyone sees the real themselves. And it breaks them. My son turns to acquaintances. To lawyers. To advisors. To me, he writes a message: "Dad, don't you know anyone who could help?" I was framed. I read. I smile. I delete. My grandson tries to find where the leak came from. He connects his acquaintances from cybersecurity. But no one is there anymore. All the threads lead to emptiness. I am emptiness. Without a name. Without an address. Without a trace. But at home, tension. The phone rings more and more often. In the evenings, knock knock. They arrive. My daughter brings a cake. We were scared. How are you? It's normal, I say. I'm not playing a role. I'm myself. They're just looking into the eyes of someone they haven't seen in years for the first time. For the first time, without disdain, without haste. With fear. I don't say much. Because silence is my weapon. Silence is the best interrogation. They don't know how much I know. They don't know what else awaits. And that's what breaks them. My house, once empty, is alive again. But not with voices. But with fear. Because now each of them understands, I'm not old. I'm an architect. It seemed to them that I was smoldering. In fact, I was forging. Now, they're burning up. Everything has changed, but I haven't moved. I'm sitting where I always am, in my chair, facing the window. Only before I was a shadow. And now, the silent center of the universe, which has turned to face me. The table is cleared. The TV is turned off. The plaid is neatly folded on the armrest. There is a ringing silence in the room. Not deaf, not dead. It is alive, tense. There is expectation in it. They have come. Son, daughter, grandchildren. For the first time, not for Easter, not for a birthday, not for a photo. For the first time, because they need to. They sit down, as if for confession. Some put their hands on their knees, some lower their eyes. Everyone is silent. I look at them for a long time. Too long for their comfort. Too deep for their protection. They were looking for help, advice, protection. But they found themselves, in my eyes. I say nothing. Because there is no need. They understood everything. Not from the revelations. Not from the evidence. But from how it hurt. Not outside, inside. When the masks fell. The granddaughter tries to say something. Her voice is thin. Grandpa, you. No need, softly, evenly. I'm not angry. I'm not shouting. Because the real sentence is silence. I could tell you how many nights I spent alone. How many times I sat with the phone in my hand, not dialing numbers, because I knew they wouldn't pick up. I could recall how they laughed when I asked for help. How they forgot. How they considered me a burden. But why? I'm not a judge. I'm a mirror. And today they saw themselves in it. My reckoning is not completed with shame. But with the truth. It doesn't need to be proven. It's in the air. I return to the table. I open my diary. The last page. I write, old age is not silence. It is observation. This is a scene after a performance, where the actors wash off their makeup. And only then do you see who was really who. I did not forgive. But I did not become bitter. Because the shadow that returned leaves behind light. And the one who has learned to wait is never afraid of the dark again. I close the notebook. Everything is done. Without words, without weapons, without tears. Only respect remains. For the first time, not for the past, but for what no one saw, but everyone felt. They no longer laugh. They do not interrupt. They listen, even when I am silent. Subscribe and like this video, more interesting revenge stories of elderly people coming soon.